MBSR is the mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's what would you call it? It's a format or a system.
I would call it a course or a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's a course or program.
eight-week program.
Phil for you. And it was designed by Jon Kabat-Zinn.
Right.
To help folks with stress, reducing stress.
Right.
So today, Phil fails at stress.
Great.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the mindfulness-based stress reduction system or program. We're also going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about probably mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think? What other topics do you think surround this discussion?
I think the main thing is to understand where stress is coming from. And that's what we develop in this course, that understanding. And it develops in a natural way. It consists of many practices we do. And it's a very experiential, practice-based program. And there is a curriculum we follow, but it's very much dependent on the people who are taking it and their experience, where they are at, and what they get out of it. So it's not like you do this and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's more like exploration. You try this and see if it works for you.
And I have tried it. I've have a certification or whatever you get when you've completed the 8-week course. I did the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction about, I don't know, it was probably maybe eight or 10 years ago. Okay. I had a really challenging time in my life. I think it was around 2014, so it must have been around 10 years ago.
Okay.
I had some real challenges and kind of like I don't know if you call it a breakdown or just some real existential crisis. And the MBSR was one of the things I invited into my life to find my way.
Uh-huh. So did it help you?
Oh, yeah. It was the beginning of a meditation practice for me.
Yeah.
It was also a way of understanding my mindset, the way I thought about my experience.
Uh-huh.
I learned a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the system. If it's still the same when I did it, it was for 8 weeks, you would meditate for 45 minutes a day.
Right.
And you would also set aside a couple hours a week for more didactic, like lesson time, where you learn certain things, or you'd read articles and digest them.
The way I have done it is you meet with the class once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long class, 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And you practice for about an hour in class, where the teacher guides you with the practice. There are different kinds of practices you do. And then the other half of the time, there are activities, small groups, large group discussions about what happened in your practice. And in that process, you learn. So, and then you get home practice to do. You have to set aside at least 45 minutes, 5 days a week to do it on your own. But you would be provided with records, guided to guide you. So you can just play the audio recordings, and just do it on your own at home. So that's kind of how it works. 8 classes like that. But there is also one class which is a all-day class. It's a 7-hour class.
Yeah.
And so that happens between the 6th and 7th class. So by class 6, participants have learned all the different kinds of practices and the small elements of each practice.
Mm.
And so they have a whole day in silence. A little bit, I try to find a quiet place and access to nature, so they can do walking meditation
Yeah.
also. So basically, they are silent and they do all the practices one after the other, alternating between stillness and movement. So
Yeah.
it's like half an hour to 45 minutes sit, half an hour to 45-minute move
Yeah.
all day.
And when you say practice, these are meditation types of meditation.
Yeah.
Whether it's a metta or a loving kindness meditation or a body scan
Yeah.
or a focus on the breath
Right.
or noting where thoughts come and go and you note them and then release them. And there's a bunch of these practices within the context of meditation.
That's right. I mean, you can call them meditation, but we also do movements. So basically, there are 4 sequenced guided recordings that we do. Body scan,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a yoga movement sequence that you do lying down.
Mm.
There is a yoga movement sequence you do standing. Then we also do eating meditation, mindful eating.
Oh yeah, I've watched.
Remember that?
I know that from. I remember doing that. We ate a raisin.
Right.
You eat a raisin for like 30 minutes or like a long time. I also remember the Thich Nhat Hanh book, Savor, I think is his book about mindful eating.
Yeah. And then, so we do all this, and then slowly the last thing we do is the whole 45-minute sit. But along the line, people have been at home doing elements of that. Basically, how to get grounded, how to get anchored, and I'll talk about what anchored means.
Yeah.
So they have been practicing all of that. And then by class 5, we do the whole sitting, paying attention to the mind. But first, we work on the body. That's why we do the body scan and the mindful movements for the first 4 weeks with breath awareness and trying with different anchors, sounds, neutral parts of the body, like your hands,
Yeah.
anything that will help you to come to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we do those. And then class 6, we do a whole session devoted to mindful speech and listening, because a lot of people have their stress coming from their habitual communication patterns, either in family or at work. So we have a whole class devoted to just that.
Communication.
Mindful communication. Although in every class we do mindful communication. The
Yeah.
whole 2.5 hours is just seamless mindfulness. Moving, whatever you do it mindfully. So that's why we do all that. And then mindful walking, that's also a mindful movement. A lot of kindness and self-care is built into it, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We do the loving kindness practice at the retreat. because that's not something that's given as a home practice in the curriculum. All these other 4 are given. In the retreat, we do all those, and we add the metta practice, loving kindness practice, and also there is another one we do called mountain. Did you all do that?
I think we did mountain.
Mountain, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more about, to me, it's about equanimity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How to be okay with whatever happens.
Yeah. To be okay, to accept the present moment as
Yeah.
it is without
Yeah.
aversion or attachment
Yeah.
or grasping.
Right. So all of that works, and it works in a step-by-step. So talking about the class format,
Mm-hmm.
So first class, we build trust
Yeah.
with the group, because all these strangers are coming together. They don't know each one. Are they going to open up with one another? So
Yeah.
trust building. We do a class agreement together.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody says what is their need, and how do we honor that. So we do that. First, in class 1, we do body scan and the raisin eating.
Yeah.
Raisin eating is really good because it explains what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
To do to eat with all your 5 senses,
Yeah.
but one at a time.
Yeah. You take it and you roll the raisin in your finger, and
You first look at it.
you look at it.
And
Notice all the wrinkles in the raisin and you do.
Yeah.
Smell it. Roll it around.
And
Hear
hearing.
it sound like.
Has anyone ever heard a raisin?
Yeah.
But some people get surprised. Oh, I can hear something. Some people cannot, and some people can.
Yeah.
So
we invite all 5 senses into the present moment and into our our awareness, our awareness of what's present.
Right. And also what is there that is not visible.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in the mind element. So what's in the raisin that you can't see, hear, smell, taste, and touch? And then people come up with answer. Oh, we can't see the whole agricultural process.
The universe is in that raisin.
Right.
It was a grape.
Yeah.
It was a seed.
Right.
It was soil.
Yeah.
It was a farmer's dream of, farming. It was
all of that.
Maybe under the water at some point. Texas was all over underwater at some point.
Right.
And then in the future, it's like you can go either forward or backward with this raisin and see the universe.
Right. So all of that, and then I tell them in the class that, okay, so we took however minutes, 15 minutes to eat a raisin. At home, you don't have to eat every bite taking 15 minutes. You can't do anything else. But you can invite all your senses to your eating.
Yeah.
And do it exactly at the same time, but pay attention to what you're eating,
where it came from,
and the smell, the taste, the sound, the sound of chewing. Yeah. And a lot of things are bad manner here. My children always reminded me, eat with your mouth closed.
Yeah.
Well, then you can't hear yourself chewing. So of course you will have your table manners and all that, but you can still invite all your senses to your eating.
You increase the fidelity of the experience.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going to enrich. It's enriching.
Yeah.
It's like an enrichment of saying, I'm going to crank up the volume on this meal with just the smell. Let me just be with the smell for a second.
Right.
Let me be with, what does this look like? You're just, it's a feast for all the senses.
Right. And then people report, oh, eating is much more meaningful.
Yeah.
I don't need to turn the TV on anymore when I'm eating.
Yeah. Well, you've got this episode of lasagna, or this episode of your entertainment is this
Right.
feast.
Yeah. So same way, body scan. We have been living far away from our bodies.
Yeah.
We are living in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we start the body scan, we start from the toes,
Yep.
one big toe.
Mm-hmm.
And, so sometimes people have difficulty. Where is my toe? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not about visualizing. It's not like you are up there and looking down at the image of your body. It's not that. It's feeling the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so people say, I can't feel anything. And then that's okay, but wiggle your toes, they'll tell you where they are.
Yeah.
And then take your attention there.
To the wiggle.
To the wiggle.
Yeah.
And then keep it still after the wiggling is over, after you know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, either you feel something or you don't feel anything. But it's about listening to the body's signal.
Yeah.
Which we did somewhere, our ancestors did when we were, living in the trees or caves or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we only live in our mind, we forget about the body. But there is so much wisdom in the body.
Yeah.
So connecting with the wisdom of the body. So many signals are coming. And that's the beginning, because, what is stress anyway? Is it just in your mind, or does it show up in your body?
Yeah.
So unless you learn to listen to your body, you will miss the signals of stress. So that's where we start.
Yeah.
So body scan, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
And then being aware of the breath, the anchoring. So that's the other thing. The body is always in the present moment.
Yeah.
The mind goes to the past, goes to the future.
Yeah.
And the body is right here, telling you
right here,
what's happening right now.
right now.
And then there is this, so there are all these different components. One is paying attention to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Then it has to be intentional.
Yeah, with intention.
With intention. So this is a class for adults. It's not a class for children. And a lot of times children do things because adults tell them, do this, don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But for adults, it has to be intentional. So unless your intention is there, you won't get it. Your mind will go somewhere else. But if your intention is strong enough, it will help you to stay still or move or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. To really, really take your intention into your bones. Really deep intention. And that will carry you through. When people say meditation is hard.
Yeah.
And the third component, very, very important, is the non-judgment.
Non-judgmental stance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so how do you become non-judgmental? People will say that I can't do that. Judgments are coming all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this. This is too hard. And all those things are coming. So how do I become non-judgmental all of a sudden?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to. You see what will help to be non-judgmental. So bring in curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in kindness.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are judgmental, we are too hard.
Yeah.
So softening about it.
Or rigid. There's a rigidness with judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quick and it
Yeah.
closes the world down.
Right.
It,
Right.
it's the
So
murder of curiosity and open-mindedness and
exactly.
exploration.
Exactly. So there won't be any room for judgment if you have curiosity and kindness.
Yeah.
So judgment would fall. So judgment will come because of habit, but then you become non-judgmental toward the judgment.
It's interesting. This program isn't for children, yet it seems like it's inviting a childlike
Exactly, exactly.
orientation to
Yeah.
things.
You
Be
can call
curious,
you
play.
you can call it childlike. So that's the thing. We were all curious.
Yeah.
That's how we started.
Before we knew.
Before we became, cultured,
Yeah.
quote unquote, then all the shoulds and shouldn'ts
Yeah.
were defined for us. So we kind of, all our curiosity went away. So one way to look at it is be like a child. The other way to look at it would be a scientist,
Yeah. Yeah.
explore, experiment, see if it works.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's not this way or that way. Is it? You find out.
Yeah. Yeah. So